Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents The Godmother's Secret by Elizabeth St. John, narrated by Elizabeth St. John. Acknowledgements. The joy of writing this novel came from not only the research and archival discoveries, the numerous books and papers I read, but also the conversations I enjoyed with so many people during the past 3 years. It turns out everyone has an opinion on what happened to the princes in the tower, and every one of those opinions is different. That one question was a conversation starter everywhere I went, and my sincere thanks to all the enthusiastic staff, volunteers and visitors at libraries, council offices, churches, cathedrals and archives, festivals, concerts and pubs across England who stopped to chat. Special thanks to members, staff and volunteers of numerous societies and locations, including the Richard III Society, the Bosworth Battlefield Heritage Centre, the King Richard III Visitor Centre, the National Archives, the Tower of London, Bolton Castle and Middleham Castle, as well as the Friends of Lydiate Park. And a special thank you to those who kindly invited me into their private homes and libraries, sharing their own family histories. So many people threw their time and energy into reading various drafts ad nauseum. This was not an easy novel to write, and a huge thank you to my brilliant writer friends, Chris Abazos and Amy Moroney, who absolutely walked this journey with me and saved me from giving up on several occasions. Also thanks to the entertaining and ever-truthful Thursday night writing group at San Diego Writers, Inc., and my wonderful beta readers of Linda, Judith, Karen, Deborah and Sandy for their generosity in sharing their own unique expertise, questioning motives and providing positive feedback. Incredibly special gratitude to my extraordinary editor Jenny Quinlan, who rescued me from plot holes and stayed the course when I had no clue where I was going. Finally, my heartfelt love to my family and friends who've travelled with me, checking in and cheering me on. Emma, my darling girl, thanks for always being on the road with me. My website is www.elizabethjstjohn.com. The Lydiate Archives are a unique digital collection of objects, records, reports and ephemera documenting the 1,000-year history of Lydiate House and Park, created by volunteers with a passion for preservation and accessibility. The Lydiate Archives are managed by the Friends of Lydiate Park, an independent charity formed to protect, conserve and educate people about this beautiful historic estate with its Palladian house, ancient church, walled garden and rolling parkland. www.thelydiatearchives.org.uk www.friendsoflydiatepark.org.uk. Main characters. St. John. Elizabeth St. John, wife to John Jack Scrope, 5th Baron Scrope of Bolton. Oliver St. John, Elizabeth's brother, married to Isabel Scrope, Jack's sister. Beaufort. Margaret Beaufort, Elizabeth and Oliver's half-sister, married to Lord Thomas Stanley. Wells. John Wells, Margaret and Elizabeth and Oliver's half-brother. Tudor. Henry Tudor, Margaret Beaufort's son by her first husband, Edmund Tudor. Stafford. Harry Stafford, Duke of Buckingham, Margaret Beaufort's nephew by her second marriage to Henry Stafford. Zouche. Meg Zouche, Elizabeth's stepdaughter from her first marriage to William Zouche, 5th Baron Zouche, and wife to William Will Catesby. Scrope. John Jack Scrope, 5th Baron Scrope of Bolton, Elizabeth St. John's husband. Isabel Scrope, Jack's sister and Oliver St. John's wife. Agnes Scrope, Jack's sister and Richard Ratcliffe's wife. Rolf Scrope, Jack's cousin and husband of Cecily of York. The Plantagenets. Edward IV, King of England. Edward V, Ned, Prince and King of England. Richard, Dickon, Duke of York. Richard, Duke of Gloucester, and subsequently Richard III of England, Edward IV's younger brother and uncle to Ned and Dickon. The Woodvilles. Elizabeth Woodville, wife and Queen Consort to Edward IV, King of England. Anthony Woodville, Lord Rivers, her brother. Bess Woodville, Elizabeth's daughter, wife to Henry Tudor. Cecily Woodville, Elizabeth's daughter, wife to Ralph Scrope. Richard III's councillors: William, Will, Catesby, Meg's husband. Francis, Lord Lovell. Richard Ratcliffe, member of King Richard's Inner Council. Thomas Stanley, Margaret Beaufort's husband. England, 1470. The Wars of the Roses have been raging for 25 years, decimating families, ruining the land and exhausting commoners and lords alike. Now, the future of England balances on a sword blade. Two anointed monarchs battle for the throne. Mad Henry VI faction is presently in power, supported by the House of Lancaster. Exiled in Flanders, Yorkist King Henry IV is amassing an army to reclaim England, while his pregnant wife Elizabeth Woodville has fled to the safety of sanctuary in Westminster Abbey with her young daughters. King Henry's healthy son is the Lancastrian hope to rule England. Will the House of York greet a new prince to secure its own dynasty? Or does the claim from a young Welsh Tudor challenge England's embattled monarchy? Never before has so much been at stake for peace in England. 1. Autumn 1470. Westminster Sanctuary. A secret has been conceived. Entry, in the name of God and King Henry. My guard clouts the iron-clad door of Cheney gates, challenging the sanctuary of Westminster Abbey. The Lady Elysabeth Scrope demands entry. A murder of crows startles from the gables, cawing and whirling around my head, and circling up into the clouded heavens. I join 3 fingers in the Holy Trinity and cross myself. Head, chest, sinister and dexter. These ancient purveyors of death do not disturb me, for I have not survived this war to be hindered by a superstition. If there were a crow for every dead soldier, England would be a huge raucous rookery. But it never hurts to invoke God's protection. The crows swoop and squabble and alight singly among the gargoyles on the parapets of the soot-stained abbey. Like the granite tors of my Yorkshire home, these walls are impenetrable and inaccessible, and just as hostile. God offers protection to all who claim sanctuary, and men erect walls to keep them safe. No stirring from within. I sigh. Not unexpected. Knock again, I command the guard. Let them know their visitors will not leave. The waning October afternoon trickles shadows into the well of the courtyard. I pull my cloak closer, thankful I had chosen my finest weave to keep the warmth in and the damp out. The sun had shone golden when we rode out from London, but upon reaching Westminster we collided with the rain clouds streaming in from the west. Fallen mulberry leaves clogged the stone steps rising before me, rotting unswept in the hollows. Someone's not taking care of the abbot's house. It is clear that no one has left nor entered for a while. The guard's hammering is unanswered, and yet, to the right of the door, a candle flame glimmers through a browed window, and a shadow flits elusively. I push back my hood, and a spatter of rain needles my face. Here, gatekeeper, here's reassurance I bear your fugitive no threat. I am of middling age, graceful, fair of face, my countenance pleasing, I've heard say. Hardly a threat. The rain unfurls in sheets. I raise my voice. I'm not asking the Queen to break sanctuary. God knows the wretched woman would make it easier on all of us if she did. I motion the guard aside and edge up the slippery steps to the door. I'm here to join her. My voice competes with the dripping gutter and gets lost under the pitter-patter. At the foot of the stairs, my stepdaughter, Meg Zouche, hums with a redhead's restless energy. Her curly hair springs wildly from her hood, laced with jewelled droplets of Thames mist. The Queen thinks to defy fate with a barred door. Meg scowls at the blank and blackened oak. She will admit us, eventually. Even one such as she cannot birth her child alone, I reply. I may not be her choice for an attendant, but a captive has no say in their guard. Tempest blood warms my cheeks. I stand resolute at the door, ignoring the invisible eyes taking my measure. If this time in sanctuary is to be the battle of wills I anticipate, then I must win the first foray. I plant my feet in the composting leaves, ignore the damp seeping from the stone into the soles of my boots, and wait. Bolts grate top and bottom, and the door creaks open. I swallow a last breath of rain-washed air, hoarding the fresh scent for the stifling weeks to come, for the Queen's confinement shapes my own prison sentence. Reaching for Meg's warm hand, I cross the threshold into the abbot's house. The splashing steps of our guard fades, his duty done, mine just beginning. And if I fail, and the child dies, I will be shown no mercy from Henry, the king that rules, nor Edward, the king in exile. We are herded like moorland sheep into the cramped entry corridor, and the steward squints down his drip-tipped nose and sniffs. Meg glares back at him until he drops his gaze. She may only be 19, but she's been mine since she was 2 years of age, and I have trained her to run a great household. She will brook no truck with an insolent servant. Let Meg practice her learnings on the poor man. He is, after all, the enemy. "Escort my mother to the Queen," the Meg commands, "and then show me our lodgings." He grudgingly dips his head. "Wait here, Dame Zouche." So the household expects our arrival. They just don't choose to welcome us. Of course, there is little that will escape the Queen, for certainly she has her spies and informers, even as she invokes sanctuary to protect her unborn child. "This way, Lady Scrope." I kiss Meg's warm cheek. "Make friends with him, Meg," I whisper. "We're going to need all the help we can muster. I'll return shortly." She grins and winks. "Bonne chance, belle maman." The steward sets off at a brisk trot through a passage that runs alongside the entry courtyard. He does not look back to see if I keep up, nor to extend me the courtesy of a deferential bow, nor even a head tilt that my rank demands. So this is how we will engage. He leaves me at the open door to a dim chamber, and I pause to let my eyes adjust to the shadows and to reclaim my dignity. I am aware that whoever is in the room sees me before I see them. The lofty wood panelling is underlit by half-burned candles struggling in the damp air. At the end of the chamber is a diamond-paned window, beyond which the abbey lurks, blocking the waning light. Resting in a high-backed chair before the hearth, her pure profile dark against the blue flames of a meagre fire, is Queen Elizabeth. I still think of her as Elizabeth Woodville, her belly swollen under a beaver fur mantle. 3 little girls huddle on red velvet prayer cushions at her feet, the youngest child perhaps 18 months. So this is the commoner queen and her brace of healthy children. Yet still no male heir to claim the throne. What are the odds this next child is a boy? High, I reckon, especially given the wellspring of prayers God must be receiving daily from the Queen and her followers. The girls are sweethearts, little honey and pink roses quietly curled together like dormice in a pillow. My heartstring is tugged by my own 2-year-old daughter at home in Yorkshire. It was so hard to leave my girl. She is the precious only child of my second marriage in later years, when hope had bled dry. Worse still is the melancholy of my newly dead son, for after his perilous birth there can be no more. I shoo away the picture of his tiny coffin, dig my fingernails into my palms, and firmly close the lid on my grief. "Your Grace." My greeting competes with the hissing logs struggling to heat a room with the ceiling so high midnight drapes the vaults. I drop a court curtsy and raise my voice. "I am Lady Elysabeth Scrope, wife to Baron John Scrope of Bolton Castle. I am to attend you in your confinement." The truth of my appointment yawns like a gorge between us. The men may fight across hill and dale, but the women draw their own York and Lancaster battle lines across planked and herb-strewn chamber floors. The Queen scowls at my rain-drenched hem. I did not invite you here. She lifts her face and darts her head forward, spite widening her silvery cat eyes. I did not ask to come. I secret a fist in my skirt, signed to ward off evil. This Queen's mother was tried for witchcraft. Her daughter is tainted with the sorcery. I have no proof, but the rumours of how she bewitched the king are enough to convince me it is so. And so we are both here against our will. The Queen shifts and grimaces, grips the lion-head chair arms. Come closer, so I may know the face of my enemy, Lady Scrope. Your husband's family are true to York's cause. You, I hear, are not. So already I enter a skirmish. After all these years of war, there is no truce. 2 monarchs claim England's throne, but a kingdom can only bear one ruler. Jack's loyalty shines clear. My husband's ancestors are generations of Yorkshire barons. Mine is as murky as a moorland fog, for I am still in my heart bound by my blood family's Lancastrian allegiance. I stare at the Queen's stomach. I am sent by King Henry to attend you, bear witness to your child's birthing. Not a day too soon. She looks ready to whelp at any time. Not so. That lunatic directs you to spy on me, the Queen retorts. No, madam, he does not, I reply. In his madness, he commanded me to far worse than spying. King Henry is but 3 weeks in seizing the throne, and already his French wife is back in the saddle, riding him to war. And you, she rakes me with scornful eyes, you are Margaret Beaufort's sister, are you not? She whispers in Henry's other ear. Half-sister. My correction is trite with use. Margaret has been the celebrated heiress in our family since she was born. We share a mother. Her father was the Duke of Somerset. Mine was Lord St. John. Or when she's not advancing her Tudor son, she's negotiating favours for her family. The Queen continues as if I had not spoken. And in arranging your marriage, I hear Margaret married you, her widowed sister, to a York ally. Oh, this is exasperating. I'm being interviewed by a woman who has no authority to appoint. I am her gossip and her jailer. Take my help or leave it be. The Queen is owed no explanation of a marriage contract that blossomed from convenience to love. I think not. As a widow, I made my own match, I say shortly. When Lord Zouche knew he was dying, Jack promised to advise me on my wealth, protect my lands. I did not plan on falling in love with my adviser. And so you have made your own match. A nice widow's portion. I'm sure Margaret saw that Jack Scrope was aware of your holdings. The Queen glances at a scrap of crumpled embroidery held up by her eldest daughter, presses a fleeting caress on the princess's cheek. So, Lady Scrope, where lies your loyalty? Where is your truth? With your Lancastrian sister or your Yorkist husband? You have a tangled family, to be sure. Her witch eyes see conflict too clearly. Margaret and King Henry callously move me across England's battle board, castle me with their enemy to watch over her birthing. My marriage to Jack may have been my choice, but this confinement was at the bidding of my king. I could not refuse. And even Jack appreciates the £10 that accompanies my appointment. A tangled web, to be sure. I untie my cloak, shake a shower of raindrops to the rushes laid upon the floorboards. At least these are freshly changed, the leaves still green and pungent from the reed beds. One advantage of this gloomy lodging situated so close to the river. You left the Tower of London to come here, to Westminster. You haven't answered my questions, the Queen demands. I'm here. And why did you leave the Tower? It is both a palace and a prison. You should have felt secure there. The Queen shrugs. My husband, King Edward, thought me secure in his stronghold, But I know better. Whoever holds London holds the Tower, and London favours Lancaster. I am safer under God's watch than the Crown's." She is right. You'll be protected and untouchable. Claiming sanctuary is as old as time itself. God only knows how long this woman will hide within the abbey confines. Now I am lashed alongside the Woodville Queen on her fortune's wheel, a passenger on a journey not of my choosing, and that's the only truth that matters. "A measured response," the Queen replies. "Do you always see both sides of the coin, Lady Scrope?" "Perhaps both colours of the chessboard, Your Grace," I say carefully. "Our lives resemble the conflict of black square and white. Perchance while the kings fight, the queens hold the power." Queen Elizabeth shifts in her chair, peers down at her girls. They are quiet, too quiet in my opinion. I do not think this mother thought much of her daughter's well-being when she fled to Chaney Gates. I wonder who last sung them a lullaby, cuddled them to a peaceful sleep. "I think the conflict is of our rose emblems, of red and white," the Queen says, interrupting my thoughts and returning our talk to the politics that have ruled my world for most of my life. "Do not be too assured, Lady Scrope. My husband amasses an army to reclaim our throne. You may consider yourself under the simpleton's protection, but for how long? Choose your colour wisely. You are merely a pawn in this game of kings." I ignore her goading, try to bring our conversation back to neutral territory, for I must impart more news. Don't falter now. "There is another matter, Your Grace. A command from the King." The Queen places her hand protectively over her belly. "What design now from Margaret Beaufort and the simpleton, Lady Scrope?" I hold out the letter, worn with my folding and unfolding. "You know I am to witness your child's birth. Here is the command, that the King also appointed me the baby's godmother. On Margaret's advice, this is not my choice." The Queen snatches the paper and tears it into pieces, the shreds floating and dissolving into the rushes. "Godmother? A godmother is a relative of the blood. Is there no end to my humiliation?" Elizabeth Woodville gestures to the door, hands fluttering like moths through the dusk. "I will not accept a parasite in my family. You have no right to be here. Get out!" "My duty, Your Grace, is to ensure you are safely delivered and your child well cared for." Enough of this war of words. I am equally at risk in this place, and I will not let her arrogance rule my destiny. I curtsy to the Queen's turned head. "May I suggest you rest now? I'll see you in the morning." I have a responsibility, whether this commoner likes it or not. Time to find Meg, discover what is available in this barren house of men to carry out my duty of witnessing this birth, bringing this child safely into the world. And that is all I can think about. Despite all of Margaret's manipulations, I still don't know if I can truly stand before God and swear the godmother's oath to join the House of York. I cross the endless chamber floor, and my damp skirts chafe at my calves, bind dismally around my ankles. I will not let the Queen see my weariness. Don't falter, don't fall, don't falter, don't fall. A clashing of bells fractures the stale air, so close above my head they could have flown from the belfry and buried me. Vespers. And so will my days now be measured, in God's time, until salvation comes, whatever that might be. "And be warned," the Queen shrieks, a previously hidden country accent now coarsening her voice. "Be warned, Lady Scrope, and all those who commanded you to this sanctuary. Your godmothering is worthless if I bear a daughter. But if I birth a boy, if I birth a prince in this prison, his life lies in your hands." 2. Autumn 1470, Westminster Sanctuary. In our small square room, tainted by kitchen odours and an open drain under the high horned window, Meg and I make scant suppers of hard cheese and rye bread. The steward takes pleasure in delivering us to the cold tiled pantries and damp larders, and points to the dented pewter service on the ceiling high dresser. No doubt Abbot Milling dines nightly on silver, mopping his venison gravy with fine white manchets, but no invitation comes to join his table. He obviously does not consider us worthy of notice, and so fend for ourselves we do. After restless nights, I arouse my chilled bones to go about the business of preparing for the birth. Each morning I break the ice in the water bowl and splash my face, gathering strength for the day ahead. Thank heaven for Meg's presence, for together we can overcome most things. I have loved my stepdaughter as my own since the motherless little girl was 2 years old. My arranged marriage with Lord Zouche bore no fruit, and I learned early that love does not ripen in an old man's body. Meg was the last of his offspring, and I am eternally grateful for her in my life. Despite its painted panels and floor-to-ceiling tapestries, the Jerusalem chamber affords no comfort for the Queen's confinement. This is a room designed for men's deliberations, powerful and intimidating. I walk slowly around the perimeter. How ironic that the arras tapestries portray the adoration of the Magi. These priceless cloths would all be removed in a few weeks for Advent and draped within the abbey, leaving the wood panels naked. They would adorn the altar for the Christ child, but not rebuff the cold for a king's baby. The room is dominated by a polished oak table as big as my fish pond at Bolton Castle. Hefty armchairs are rooted to the floor. There is no tolerance for women in this male enclave, even if they herald a royal birth. The men may have named the chamber to say they had died shriven in Jerusalem, but it is no salvation for a woman facing childbirth dangers. Where else could the Queen deliver her child? After several frustrating interviews with the abbot that go nowhere despite my attempts, I seek out for myself the kitchens, stillroom and chapel, food, medicinals, and a place to pray for all but the direst emergencies. I direct the abbot's carpenter to immediately fashion a birthing stool from a library chair. Meg orders a wooden trestle bed and kindling to be dragged into the Botella's pantry. The room is small but warm, hard by the kitchen flue. There is no cradle and no money to purchase one, so I empty the trunk in my room and stuff it with a soft wool blanket from my bed. This baby will be warmly, if not royally, welcomed. The Queen ignores me still and takes no interest in the running of our household, albeit one locked down under God's protection. I wonder who cared for the little girls before I arrived, but I have no time to find out. Finally, I managed to extort coin from Abbot Milling to order fresh marrow bones and beef from the butcher. Meg sends the spit boy to gather armfuls of nettles from the abbey fields and to pick up the wormy windfall apples from the orchards beyond the walls. Now, at least, we can make broths and tisanes to sustain the Queen. They will not come amiss for us either. My hurried appointment under the duress of war and threat of invasion gave scant notice to prepare for this role, and the Queen's delivery is upon us. The responsibility of her well-being weighs on my shoulders, drives my furious preparations. Should the birthing go awry, I will be accused of negligence by either Lancastrian or Yorkist. This must go well. Worse, the Queen refuses to take to the birthing room, and the woman insists on remaining fully dressed in the Jerusalem chamber. Certes, this is the commoner in her, or the fugitive. At the end of our long days, Meg joins me in the kitchen as I finally sit down on a hard bench by the blackened fireplace. Pottage bubbles in a pan hanging over the flames, but in truth I am usually too exhausted to eat. The abbey bells have tolled for Compline, and I think that I too am buried and waiting for the final judgment, like the death of Christ this service honours. "I think we are prepared, Belmamant," Meg says with the optimism and faith of the young. "The Queen has given me the name of Marjorie Cobb, her midwife. She insists that we call upon the woman when her time comes." "The Queen spoke to you. She still refuses to accept I'm here." I ease my shoes off, stretch my stockinged feet towards the fire, and wiggle my toes to ease the ache. Meg chafes my hands, rubs my aching shoulders. Sweet girl. "She'll come around," Meg replies. "The Queen knows what is best for herself and the health of her baby, and being angry is not good for either of them." "Maybe so, or not," I say. "She had better summon the magic of her ancestors, for I cannot do more for her in this prison." And if I fail, and the child dies?
Sample complete. Ready to continue?